good morning everyone. We're going to kick today's webinar off titled Diving into the Water Market to Leverage Savings. Today I'm joined by Darren, Chris and Alice. We're just going to quickly go through some webinar etiquette. I'm sure many of you have joined webinars before, but just to remind you that this is being recorded, as we've just stated, and that all participants, apart from the panelists, are on mute just to avoid any background noise or any distractions. If you have any questions at any time during the webinar, please just either float down to the bottom or the top and a bar will appear where you can enter in your question. It's always best while it's fresh in your head to just get it straight on there, and at the end we'll endeavour to answer as many questions as possible. If we don't get to it live, we will contact you directly as long as it's not an anonymous question and answer that afterwards. Please feel free to comment on the chat or if you've got any concerns about joining or any technical issues, it might be the best place on there as well. So I'm going to hand over to the guys now. Oh, apologies, sorry, one additional slide, just a quick one. I'm not going to read through it. It's just a small section about us. We'll be sharing the slides and the recording after the event. But a quick snapshot about Zenergi. We were founded in 2003. We have over 3,400 education customers with an impressive customer retention rate of 97.8%. We are an energy and environmental consultancy. We're all about getting everybody to net zero with renewable generation projects, and very much about the customer service side. So now I'm going to hand over to the guys. Take it away.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chris Hazelden, Relationship Manager at Zenergi. We just want to give you a quick overview of what the industry has done from 1989 to date. The English water industry is going through a gradual process of regulatory reforms over the next 5 to 10 years. These reforms are removing the integrated regional monopoly model, which has been barely changed since 1989 when it was first privatised. Essentially, water companies across England provided similar integrated services with no or very limited opportunities for customers to switch provider. Recommendations for wider reforms were first put forward in 2009 by the Cave Review. The Cave Review proposed the introduction of retail competition for all non-household customers. The Water Act of 2014 adopted most of the recommendations of the Cave Review as set out by the framework for wide-ranging industry reforms. The successful introduction of retail competition for non-household customers in Scotland in 2008 undoubtedly helped this and made politicians and regulators work to this new reform. The Act allows for all non-household customers, and there's about 1.2 million businesses and public sector bodies and charities to switch their water retailer. Competition was introduced into the water market in 2017, and the overall objective of the retail market is to encourage retailers to compete for the business by providing a better service, lower prices, and or extra services that will help you save water. This should not only lower your customer bills, but also reduce the impact on the environment.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alice. I'm also a relationship manager for Zenergi. So I'm just going to talk to you a bit about the role of the wholesaler and the retailer. So your local water company, known as your water wholesaler, still pipes water to and from your premises, but it is an independent business that provides your retail services such as billing, meter reading, and customer services. Just like with your energy provider, you can now choose your business water retailer based on price and service. You now have the power to decide who you pay your bills to. So how does your water deregulation work? Your local water wholesaler pipes clean water to your site and take away treats, cleans, and wastewater. Your retailer is responsible for your meter readings, so you only pay for the water you use. Your water retailer sends you a bill that covers both retail and wholesale costs, so you pay your bill. Your retailer then pays the wholesaler. If you have a question or queries about your water account, it will be your water retailer that would take the lead. And in a water emergency, you can contact your wholesaler directly.
Okay, next slide, I think, which was responsibilities. That's fine. No, sorry, generally not on that one. So basically, the water wholesaler looks after all the pipes, the reservoirs and treatment works to ensure businesses get clean water they need and also wastewater that is removed. They're also responsible for managing network issues such as burst pipes or blocked sewers, installation of new meters, changing the location of a water meter, alterations to the size of the water meter, repair or replacement of faulty or damaged water meters, and responding to queries on the level of consumption. They also deal with leakage claims, conducting meter tests, and it's also worth noting that wholesalers don't look after the pipe work on or within your property boundaries. The responsibilities of the retailers are issues with bills, collecting payment for your water and waste services. They also manage queries with the wholesaler. So for instance, if you need a new meter or have a leakage claim or a complaint about the water quality, they will raise the work with the wholesaler on your behalf and see this through to completion. They also obtain meter readings and supply them to the water market central database. The retailer is relying on the wholesaler turnaround, so depending on who your wholesaler is, this can take some time to get these queries sorted.
So the wholesale rates change once a year on the 1st of April. So it's expected from around about the 1st of April this year. The wholesale prices obviously were expected to increase between around about 9 and 11%, depending on the location. The wholesaler will publish the rates and the retailer will amend the invoices to reflect the changes. If you are not in a formal fixed agreement with your chosen retailer, the retailer can also increase their fee for their services. So what should you do? If you're a formal fixed agreement already, your retail rate will be fixed, but you will still be affected by the change in the wholesale rates. And if you are not in a contract, it is best to obtain a quote and fix the retail cost now.
So how can we help? So we can help save up to 5% if you're on a deemed contract. The retail rate we can offer is fixed until 31st of March 2024. When you come with Zenergi, you'll be given a dedicated point of contact within Zenergi who will be your relationship manager, and they will take the lead ensuring a smooth transfer and rectifying any queries that you may have. We will lead by validating your invoice and making you aware of any discrepancies. And additionally, you can view this on the PEPI when you log into the Zenergi portal. And all queries you have for your water should come to us first. So please don't go direct to the water retailer or supplier. And we'll be here to help you as we do with your gas and electric.
So this is a really good example of how our water scheme benefited one of our customers. So I'm actually the relationship manager for this school. They contacted me back in lockdown because the adjoining school experienced, unfortunately, an arson attack. Ravensdale water supply was then used to extinguish the infant school's fire, which then caused them around about £14,000 for their 1 month invoice. So I took the lead with raising this with the retailer and achieved a great outcome for my customer, writing off the entire invoice. So that's just one thing that obviously we can hopefully help you with.
We're just going to do a quick poll now. So do you know how much water your school should be using? What is the best practice water benchmark figure? So we're just going to launch that poll now. You cast your votes. We'll just keep open this for a few seconds. So the results are starting to come through. Just wait a tiny bit longer. Wait for it to settle. Okay. Interesting results. I'm going to end the poll now and launch the results. Darren, can you reveal the answer? we lost Darren? I believe it is number 1, 3 cubic meters per pupil. Thank you. Okay.
This is Darren Jen, so I'm not sure if we've lost him.
Okie dokie. Just bear with me a moment. I know we're experiencing some technical IT issues at our head office, unfortunately. I think he might have dropped off for now, so maybe perhaps we'll come back to this slide. Alice, Chris, I wonder if you maybe to talk through some of the water bills and how it works.
Yeah, so the bills we receive from Water to Business, which is one of our preferred suppliers, is monthly billed. So you'll get a bill every month. We do ask that you supply meter readings every month so we can accurately bill this. And you'll see lots of different charges on there. There's charges for, I don't know whether I can see that scroll down there, but these go through the same process that we process our gas and electric bills. So we check the consumption is correct, we check that the volumetric charge is correct, and if there's any drainage on there or other parts to your, oh, I think Darren's going back. Oh, hello, Darren. You're back with us.
Hello, sorry. I lost internet connection there.
Sorry, I was just explaining some of the bills, but we can go back to your slide or first slide if you like.
Really sorry about that. That's really
right.
bad timing. I thought it was the broadband your end, but I think it's my end. The weather is terrible here in Shropshire, so I don't know if it's knocked it out or something. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Over to you.
Where about? Have we done the poll?
Yes, we've done that. Yes, we did that.
We've revealed the answer, but would you mind just confirming and then carrying on with this slide?
Okay, so really sorry about that. My name's Darren Myers. 3 meters cubed per pupil per year is the correct answer. What's the reason for needing to know this? Well, hopefully you find all this presentation informative, but I would suggest, but now knowing that it's 3 meters per pupil per year, you'll be aware if your school or site can potentially make water savings. So how do you calculate this? And it's simply done by taking your water bills for the past year, adding them all up and dividing by the number of pupils. Don't use 2020 as a year, because obviously that was a COVID year and the figures will be skewed. And just be careful that they're actual readings, not estimated readings. We say if the resulting figure is over 6 meters cubed per pupil per year, then a water survey will be of benefit because there's potential savings to be made. If it's between 3 and 6, then savings can be made, but they'll obviously be lower. The problem's always been with an organisation or a site. If they've paid a certain amount over the years and they're used to paying that amount, they don't see any issue and they just continue paying it. But they may have had an underground leak for years and not being aware of it. Now, by knowing that information of 3 meters cubed, you'll know how much you should be using, and hopefully you guys on this call will benefit from that. Also, what's very important, do take regular meter readings. Don't rely on the bills to highlight an issue, since they're likely to be estimated. By taking regular readings, you can react quickly to peaks in consumption if required. An example is a few months ago, I was at a site and they had been taking readings, but they weren't giving them to their supplier. I compared the readings that they had to the readings on the bill, and they were completely different. I found that there was an underground leakage that needed to be fixed. This is an example of where simply taking meter readings and providing them to your supplier is important. I mean, and that takes probably a couple of minutes to do. And then in this particular example, that that leak that they had it for over a year, and that could have been stopped. So what does a water survey include? Well, we look at the billing charges, we do the benchmarking, we analyze historic consumption, and we do a breakdown of water consumption per use. And then finally we have the recommendations, and they're broken down by the savings, the cost, and the payback period. Next slide, please. So I thought it would be useful for everybody to go through a water bill to explain the different elements of a bill. All suppliers have got the same information on the bill, but they present it in different ways. Some are clearer than others, but essentially it's all the same information. We've picked one here from Water to Business. Now, at the very top, every bill should have a SPID, a supply point identification number, for the water in and one for the water out. And that SPID is very similar to the MPAN and the MPR number that you have for your electricity and your gas. They've also got the meter serial number on there, and do note that SPIDs can have more than one meter linked to it. That's not uncommon. So going through the bill here, you've got the time period. So here it's November to December in this example. You've got the actual readings. And this is what I'm saying. This is important to check these readings against your own site readings that you've taken. It says there whether it's estimated or not. Where there's no meter on site, it will be billed on the rateable value, but that is quite rare. So I'll just point that out. It's got the gross consumption on there. So how much difference between the readings, how much has been used that particular month, and the year-to-date consumption. Now, you pay for your water, two separate rates. You pay for your water in and you pay for your water out. So at the top there, we've got the water details, and that's the first thing there is a tariff code. That simply identifies to the retailers your SPID, and it's based on the region you're in, the meter size, and your annual consumption, and they use this code for pricing. And then the next one is the volumetric rate, how much you will pay for every meter cubed of water. So this example is £1.70 for every meter cubed. And then the volumetric charge is simply the £1.70 times by your gross consumption. In this example, 199 for that particular month. And then you'll have the standing charges. These can differ per region, but usually they're based on the meter size. Next slide, please. And this one's the sewerage, very similar. Very similar. You've got the tariff code again, and then the volumetric charge of £1.18 on this one here. And the RTS is the return to sewer. Now, this is dependent on what region you're in. It's either 90, 95 or 100%. And the volume of sewerage is assumed to be one of these percentages. In this example, it's 100%. 100% of the water in is the water out. That's what they're saying here. So in this example, the water in was 199. So they're charging you for the water out 199. Those that are 90 and 95%, that's because they assume some water hasn't gone to drain. For example, you've used it for drinking or in food preparation or something. Not applicable really to schools and care homes so much, but we do analyse the return to sewer for industrial sites because they can make big savings on that, because the water in is not necessarily 100% of the water out, because in industrial process, they have evaporation, so they can make savings on that. What we got next? So we have got the volume. Oh, sorry, still on that. Sorry, can go back to that. Thank you. We've got the volumetric rate and the charge, and then you've got the standing charge. Now, then you've got the drainage charges. These differ for each wholesale region of how they charge. Some it's a separate charge and some it's in the fixed charge. In this example, it was in the United Utilities region, which covers up north Cumbria down to Crewe, and then Liverpool and over to Manchester. But the Severn Trent area charges the same way as well. It's based on the area of your site, and it's essentially charging for rainwater and to prevent flooding, and the highway drainage is for the roads around your area, and it's all based on the size of your site. As you can see here, this particular example is being charged over £11,500 per year just on drainage, and a part of our survey has reduced this for this particular school because it was a lot higher previously. So hopefully that was useful to go through the bill. Next slide, please, Jenny. So I've got some examples here, and there's 5 examples, and all of them are schools. I would say that it applies equally to care homes as well. It's just that these are some examples of what we did in 2021, and we weren't able to get into care homes in 2021 because of COVID. So yes, but the savings are just as applicable as well. So I won't go through all that, but in summary, with this particular one, we found that water was being used when people weren't even on site. They needed advice on flush control, flow control, and help fixing the leakage. The survey found over £29,000 a year saving. It would an investment cost to achieve that saving was just over £3,000. So you can see a very quick payback period. And take a note there that the low cost investment in order to achieve those savings. Also, I'd point out as well that we can identify the leak, but we're not a leak detection company, so we wouldn't be the company that comes out and digs up and actually locates and fixes the leak, but we can recommend a company to do that. And you'll see some other examples I'm going to go through now. It is quite common with how I mentioned earlier that some sites could be paying certain bills for years and not even realize they have a leak. Next slide, please, Jenny. I'll let you read just the quick summary there, but again, it's just another example of a site that had a leakage and a very quick payback period, savings of over £16,000. Just need to spend £2,500 to get a payback in 2 months. Next slide, please. Now, this site had big problems with their water billing due to a leak in their swimming pool. They had it fixed and they thought all their water problems were resolved, but they didn't realise there was another leak which was gradually getting worse. This particular school had 2 meters, and when I surveyed it, the meter was just whizzing around overnight. Luckily, with this particular site, it did have some isolation valves, so I could do a bit of investigating, and I was able to isolate it, and then they could get the particular area dug up and fixed. But that's not always the case. But again, as you can see, a very quick payback period. Next slide, please. Similar to the second example, again, just highlights the number of sites that can have a leak that they simply just weren't aware of. They've been paying that amount for years and they didn't realise they should be paying a lot less. Next slide, please. And then this last example, this school was actually under recording water use. They were using next to nothing per year. And this was the issue that prompted them to ask us to come in and do a water survey. There was a bypass valve that was cutting out the meter, not the fault of the school. But once it was fixed, they were being billed correctly. They didn't get a backdated charge from the supplier because it was the supplier's fault. The school simply just wanted the bills to be correct. But while we were there, we did identify savings, the longer payback, but still pretty good at just over 2 years. And And that's it from me. Next, I think there's another slide with just a few summary points on there. But yes, that's everything for me. And I say I apologise for technical issues, losing internet connection there, a vital point. So sorry about that. Any questions from anybody?
Thanks for going through those examples, Darren. I was pretty impressed with the large saving and the quick payback turnaround. I've just seen on this summary page about the school exemption for VAT. Can I just ask off my own personal one? It might be a stupid question, but for any care homes that are listening, is there any exemption for VAT for care homes?
Yes, there is. Yes.
Fantastic. Okie dokie. We do have a poll on this next slide, so I'm just going to launch that now. Bear with me. So would you like a conversation with us to understand more about the Zenergi water scheme or water surveys? And then we'll go into the questions if that's okay with everybody. So if you would like Darren, Alice or Chris to come back to you with some more information, then please just tick the yes please box and that will note down your email and your contact details and we'll get in touch shortly. So I'm just going to leave that a couple more seconds. Thank you for voting. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. I've had a few requests. Thank you very much for that. Awesome. Okay. So there's some contact details on the screen there. We had a few questions come in prior to the webinar starting live. So Darren, I'm going to ask you sort of similar in terms of, because we've had a few school examples, but can you tell me the benchmark figure for a care home? Because that was relative to something that someone asked earlier. And I have another question after you've answered that.
Yeah, for a care, it's a lot higher for a care home, whereas it's the best practice is 3 for a school per pupil. It's actually 68 per resident in a care home, a lot higher.
Wow, that is a lot higher.
It is a lot higher. Reasons for that is pupils are in school typically 39 weeks of the year, whereas a care home 24/7, 365, and obviously the pupils aren't there all day as well. And there's also other reasons as well. Whereas schools will have urinals, which will save water, whereas care homes, it's normally just toilets. And, you know, when there's showering, for example, schools will have showers, but care homes will have baths. So there is reasons for that, but it is significantly higher. Very
different water consumption. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure there's lots more cups of teas made at care homes as well.
Yeah.
I've had another question in for you, Darren. How much does a survey typically cost? I'm sure a lot of people would like to know that.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the site, but a good indication between £1,000 and £1,500.
Fantastic, thank you. I suppose it's dependent on the sites and it's something that you would discuss.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, next question. I think this is going to be for you, Chris. Are AMR water meters reliable, and how do I get one?
Well, in our experience, they're not particularly reliable just because of the nature of where they are. They're generally underground. Sometimes you do get instances where the meter holes are filled up with water, so signals aren't the best to get when the meter's AMR unit's underwater. So yes, you can get them. Typically they cost about £1,000 for installation, but yeah, we don't kind of recommend them particularly just because of the nature of where they are, and even the people that get them installed sometimes don't get particularly good readings off of them.
So would you recommend just making
I think, yeah, we ask for meter reads every month to be supplied on the PEPI on the portal. So yeah, that's probably your best bet, is to go around each month and get the premises manager to look at that and supply readings to us, and we can then, like Darren said, keep an eye on your consumption and make sure you're being billed correctly, and also it's in line with the 3 meters cubed per pupil.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to ask Alice another question, but similar to the last one. But whose responsibility is it to take the water meter reads?
So it is really the responsibility of the site, which, you know, like Chris has said, we would ask the customer to take a meter reading on the last day of the month if possible. And like Darren said, obviously, you know, the suppliers can bill a lot differently, and what the last thing we want is a huge catch-up bill. However, the suppliers are supposed to come out every 2 years to take the meter reading, but obviously we don't want a 2-year catch-up bill if they haven't come out between then and 2 years. So I would say it's the site's responsibility really to get the meter reading over to us.
Thank you for answering that. That's really helpful. I've not had any more live questions in, but if you think of any in the meantime, please feel free to contact us using the details on the screen. We also, as mentioned at the beginning, we have another webinar next week on the 19th. That's Thursday the 19th at 11 o'clock. And it's titled Take Control of Your School Buildings with a Condition Survey. So this is to better understand your school building condition to help manage long-term financial planning for your school estate. And in this session, we'll discuss how a survey can enable planned maintenance and management backed up by comprehensive data to identify the life cycle costings of your assets and buildings. So to join that webinar live or for the recording, just go to our events page on the website and you can register there. And that's with my colleague Ben and Chris. That's everything, I believe. So thank you so much to Darren, Chris and Alice for your expertise, and we'll be in touch for those that were interested in hearing more. So thank you and have a great day.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.